Imagine standing before a mirror that smiles back with a confidence you've never known, yet somehow you feel hollow. You congratulate yourself on every flaw you've overcome, post your daily affirmations, and celebrate the authentic you. And still, something gnaws inside, a quiet accusation that your pride is built on shifting sand. How can loving yourself feel like worshiping a stranger? You've been told, embrace your worth, shout your virtues from the rooftops, and bathe in self-compassion like sunlight. Yet beneath the warm glow lies a cold mirror image that demands more applause, more validation, more admiration. In the name of self-love, you become a tyrant, reigning over an empty kingdom of your own design. You carve out a pedestal in your mind and then scramble to prop it higher, lest it collapse. Does this feel familiar? A paradox emerges. The more fiercely you defend your self-worth, the thinner its foundation grows. When did nurturing the self transform into feeding an insatiable hunger for recognition? Is this celebration of self a gateway to genuine healing, or is it a silent descent into narcissism masquerading as care? How did a movement born to liberate hearts become an intricate dance of ego strobes and curated confidence? Feel the tension tighten around your chest? You are both sculptor and statue, endlessly reshaping and yet never fully satisfied. Your moods hinge on how many hearts light up your feed, on the echo of praise in comment threads, on the validation that flickers and fades like a dying ember. Here lies the question that stares back as uncomfortably as your reflection. When does self-love become self-obsession? Listen to that whisper. I deserve more. A reasonable thought until it demands the world's backing before granting you peace. You wield affirmations like weapons, brandishing them against every doubt. But what happens when doubt retreats only to return, sharper and more unforgiving than before? What monstrous shadow lurks behind the promise of unconditional self-acceptance? The heartbeat of this paradox drums louder. Could your daily ritual of praise be the very thing chaining you to a lie? Is the persona you've polished and proclaimed the authentic you, or just the latest mask in an endless inventory? And if that mask cracks, what raw truth remains beneath? Hold that question tight. In the dark beneath your carefully framed reflections, a deeper story is waiting, one that will reveal why this hidden narcissism took root and how it seeps into every corner of your psyche. Next, we will uncover the unseen foundations that make self-love so dangerously seductive. As you lift the mask and peer behind the gleaming facade of self-adoration, you discover a labyrinth built on fragile foundations. The self-esteem movement, once a beacon of humanistic promise, has morphed into an anthem of entitlement. Psychologists like Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow once urged you to recognize your intrinsic worth, but in the echo chamber of today's advice literature, that lesson has been hijacked by a demand for constant applause. No longer is self-compassion a gentle pat on the back, it is a relentless drumbeat demanding you prove your value with every breath you share online. Beneath the veneer of empowerment lies a paradox. The more you inflate your worth, the lighter you feel, as if your confidence were a hot air balloon tethered only by the approval of strangers. Your emotional health hinges on likes and followers, on quantified tokens of affection that vanish the moment you stop feeding the machine. When did inner peace become a performance? When did self-help transform into self-hypnosis, convincing you that love for yourself requires an audience? Philosophers long warned of this descent. Nietzsche celebrated the individual will, yet cautioned against the ego's hunger for worship. Schopenhauer spoke of the endless striving that drives the human soul, and how that striving often blinds us to our own emptiness. Today, romantic individualism is sold to you as salvation, but it conceals a spiritual hunger that no amount of affirmations can sate. Capitalism lends its hand too. The attention economy treats your deepest insecurities as marketable commodities. Every click, every share, every moment spent crafting a vulnerable post is another brick in the empire of your curated self. You build an identity not from authentic growth, but from marketing campaigns disguised as motivational quotes. The consequence is a psyche on perpetual alert, scanning for signs of rejection, measuring worth in algorithms, tethered to a fluctuating sense of self that can't withstand a single negative comment. Your emotions become roller coasters fueled by external validation, your identity fragments into personas tailored for each platform. Yet this hidden narcissism is more than individual torment. It seeps into relationships, breeding jealousy, comparison, and isolation. It hollows out communities that once thrived on genuine connection. Now feel the weight of what's to come. These roots are only the beginning. Next, you'll witness how this silent architecture of self-worship reshapes not just your mind, but the world around you, its unseen consequences waiting in plain sight. Now, witness how this silent architecture of self-worship leaks into every corner of your life, like a poison you never saw coming. Every victory selfie triggers a surge of dopamine, wiring your brain to crave applause as if it were oxygen. And when the likes dwindle, you gasp for breath. Cognitive biases conspire unseen. You spot only praise, the confirmation bias, attribute your successes solely to your amazing self, the self-serving bias, and dismiss anyone who questions your narrative, the halo effect gone wild. Your neural pathways adapt to a reality in which worth is defined by tokens, followers, reactions, comments, rather than by any intrinsic measure. You feel a rush when your post goes viral, and a hollow ache when it doesn't. Meanwhile, social media algorithms learn your secret, feed you more content that fuels the craving, until your attention is a commodity traded in an invisible market. On a broader scale, this hidden narcissism reshapes society. Relationships fracture under the weight of performance. You're more invested in crafting an appealing image of your partner than truly knowing them. Conversations become status updates. Intimacy is reduced to carefully staged moments. Communities that once bonded over shared struggles splinter into tribes competing for the title of most authentic. Culturally, we celebrate the loudest self-promoters, elevating them as role models even when their confidence is a castle of air. We reward bravado and penalize humility, teaching the next generation that vulnerability must be performative, not private. Now, feel the urgency of escape. These unseen forces are not abstract. They're rewiring your brain, warping your connections, scripting your self-image without your consent. What will it take to recognize the trap before its walls close in completely? Now picture yourself standing amid the ruins of that glittering palace you built around your ego. The applause has faded, the mirrors lie shattered at your feet. In the hush, you hear a different voice, one not clamoring for likes, but quietly inviting you to look inward. Can you resist the urge to rebuild the pedestal, or will you use this moment to tear it down entirely? The first act of rebellion is silence. For every urge to post a victory, choose stillness instead. When your mind rehearses tomorrow's affirmation, ask, what if I love myself without telling anyone? Let your self-worth be unremarkable, hidden from the broadcast. In this void, you'll discover a seed of authenticity, one that craves no audience. Next, reclaim your attention. Ancient Stoics like Marcus Aurelius wrote in private journals, cultivating strength in solitude. Diogenes lived in a barrel to strip away every superfluous desire. What if you treated your inner life as sacred, a secret garden you tend without fanfare? Schedule attention fasts. Blocks of time where screens remain dark and your gaze turns inward. Each minute you endure the urge to click is a victory over the narcotic of approval. Then embrace paradox. To build genuine self-love, give your power away. Volunteer, teach, or simply listen without judgment. When you dissolve the boundary between giver and getter, your ego loses its fuel. You'll feel a freedom so radical that the old hunger for praise shrinks to a whisper. Consider the example of real-world rebels. The poet Rumi surrendered his reputation to dance among the dervishes, his ego humbled by love without expectation. Nobel laureate Viktor Frankl found meaning in the camps by choosing his attitude, an act of will that no jailer could steal. These icons didn't guard their worth, they risked it for something greater. Now, craft a new narrative. Replace the I deserve mantra with I choose. You choose compassion over commotion, depth over display, presence over performance. When doubt resurfaces, remember that every social algorithm feeds on fragmentation. Your rebellion is to remain whole. Finally, forge your community in shadows, not spotlights. Seek confidants who value your silence as much as your voice. Create rituals that honor private growth, writing letters you never send, meditating on mistakes you refuse to share. In these unshared moments, your true self takes root, nurtured by integrity rather than applause. Feel the power coursing through your veins. This is not merely resistance, it's renaissance. You are reinventing love itself, turning self-worship into self-mastery. And as you step off the stage for good, you'll realize the grandest revolution was always within you. And now, in the hush that follows every revolution, you realize the greatest illusion was never others denying your worth. It was you denying your own fragility. You thought self-love meant armor, but in truth, it is vulnerability clad in courage. What if the final wisdom isn't love yourself more, but love yourself less, letting go of every self-image until only raw being remains? Feel your chest expand as you release the need to perform. Your essence is not a sculpture to be admired, but a river to be felt, ever-changing, ever alive. Without the glare of spotlights, you discover depths that applause could never reach. Kindness that blooms unseen, purpose that pulses in silence, love that asks for nothing. Here lies the paradox that shatters every pedestal. True self-love dissolves the self. You become both the lover and the beloved, witness and miracle, utterly present in a moment free of expectation. In this crucible of acceptance, the old hunger for validation turns to ash, and from it rises a new force, compassionate freedom. What will you do with this freedom? Will you carry your secrets like sacred fire into everyday life? Will you meet each mirror with a gentle smile, no longer hungry for applause but glowing from within? The choice is yours, an act of radical creation that no algorithm can script. In the end, the hidden narcissism you unearthed was a guide, pointing you back from the edge of solitary worship to a communion with all that is. Step away from the ruins of ego and walk into a world where self-love is not a monument, but a living tree, its roots entwined with every other heart, its branches reaching toward a sky beyond the self.